breaking news. What started as an ugly day on Wall Street has turned downright hideous.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
It is interesting, isn't it, how you'll find here members of the Trump administration blaming the Biden economy for these numbers.
Near term, we've got a Biden economy that, still most of Biden policies are in place. If you look at the Atlanta Fed GDP now number, it's showing negative first quarter, which is kind of, if you like, a metric of the inheritance of President Biden. A lot of that is also from a big increase in the trade deficit, which, as you know, and you've been covering, Joe, is happening in part because people are anxious about future tariffs.
But when during the actual Biden economy, when he was in office, we never seen these numbers.
Biden said last night that was true. It is true that the United States today has the strongest economy. There's no question about it.
Look at the futures, first of all. We're up 477 points on the Dow, 56 points for the S&P, and the NASDAQ roaring ahead by 270 points. That's 1.5% for the NASDAQ. Big gain right there.
Well, the NASDAQ, folks, hitting yet another all-time high.
And if you have different people in the administration giving different messages, the Commerce Secretary and the President are having different messages on the same day. That's not giving the market any sort of ease or certainty for investors. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have an even greater crash.
Well, the week isn't off to the best start for Donald Trump when even his prized Fox News are calling to attention the drastic state of affairs regarding the current US stock market. That very thing Trump predicted would crash if he wasn't elected?
This week in an interview that if there's an economic crash, that you hope it happens now.
Yeah.
That you don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
You're not saying you're hoping for a crash, just to be clear.
No, I think this. I think the economy is horrible, except the stock market's going up. And I think the stock market's going up because I'm leading Biden in all of the polls, every single poll for the last, with states that normally are not easy to lead. When you're leading in Pennsylvania, you're leading in Michigan, you're leading in Wisconsin. We're leading in virtually every state. And of the swing states, and overall, we're leading by a lot nationwide. But I would say this, we have a situation which I believe the stock market goes up because I'm leading. I think if I wasn't leading, the stock market would be 25% lower. And I think, frankly, if I didn't win, I think the stock market would crash.
Well, at least he got half of it right, which, if you ask Trump, he'll tell you is 100% right 50% of the time. Not to worry, his minions are out in full force with the latest verbal gymnastics. This one is particularly creative, over-bloating of the stock market. Bring in the meme, folks.
And the only problem you have with these tariffs, there's always a scoreboard, and that's going to be the stock market. And people are looking at the stock market like, hey, this is how it's going to continue to be for months and months and months. That's not going to happen. We were probably over-bloated with the stock market here for a while. We went up quite a bit. But at the end of the day, it's about fairness, it's about having fair tariffs, everybody on the same page. And again, President Trump has put together a smart group of people that understand a lot about the dollar, a lot about foreign currency, all the things that are going on. At the end of the day, it's all going to work out, and it's going to work out better for the United States of America.
Now,
the markets tumbled again on Monday as investors grew increasingly fearful about tariffs and a potential recession. Wall Street, as we know, was already coming off the back of a disaster week due to the president's bumpy, maybe I will, maybe I won't implementing of his tariffs, which he did full bore, then delayed before changing his mind again. Just as a stable genius does, right?
Good evening. More tariff whiplash tonight. Donald Trump backtracking yet again on day 3 of the continental trade fight and pausing tariffs on some Canadian goods until April 2nd. But the start-stop approach has thrown markets into a tailspin. Another day of triple-digit losses and deepening anxiety for North American businesses who don't know how to plan. You've got some new reporting today on yesterday's call between the Prime Minister and U.S. President that was described as heated. What can you tell us?
Omar, according to a senior government source, that contentious call yesterday included the U.S. President using a profanity. However, in the last 2 minutes of the discussion, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick floated the idea of a tariff pause from their side. Details were worked out by Lutnick and Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc, leaving the Canadian team fairly confident they'd land where they did today.
But the result is that by the end of last week, the major US indices had each dropped 2% for the week. The S&P 500 fell 3.1%, its largest decline since September.
Breaking news, what started as an ugly day on Wall Street has turned downright hideous. Broad-based selling across the board, and you could call it a sinkhole that's opened up under the NASDAQ. With 59 minutes left to trade, the tech-heavy index is down. This is a big percentage loss here, 4.6% or 845 points. But I want you to turn your attention to the S&P 500 that really got traders squirming. The broader index down 188 points. So basically what that indicates to you, and yes, we are at the lows of the session, it has now fallen below its psychologically important 200-day moving average. That's considered a sell signal. Now, the sell-off triggered in part by the signal President Trump sent this week during an interview with Fox News when he declined to rule out a recession. Investors turned tail at the opening bell, selling large cap stocks and just about everything else. But let me show you the Dow Jones Industrials. We have a four-digit loss in the Dow Jones Industrials at the moment, 1,439 points just chopped off that index. We now stand at 41,759. The Dow has now turned negative for the year. We do have to say, though, not all the blue chips have turned red, but this is a major percentage smackdown. Apple is taking, look at NVIDIA. Okay, so we'll go to the laggards here. Apple down 5.7%. And then you can see NVIDIA, it is the biggest laggard here, down nearly 6%. But don't ignore the fact that Goldman Sachs is getting absolutely crushed here, down 5.9%. All of the big financials, American Express down 5.5%. JP Morgan down also more than 5%. But the Dow, it's stuck in the mud.
All of which was further compounded by a train wreck of an interview on Fox, wherein which Trump, after promising a little pain, well, that was after he promised to bring prices down, just simply didn't rule out the possibility of a recession.
And I want to ask you about Ukraine and the blow up the other day with Zelensky. Let me stay on the economy for a moment, because there are rising worries about a slowdown. You've got the Atlanta Federal Reserve saying we're going to have a contraction in the first quarter. Look, I know that you inherited a mess, and you said that the other night.
I've only been here,
but are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition, because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America. That's a big thing. And there are always periods of, it takes a little time. It takes a little time. But I think it should be great for us. I mean, I think it should be great. It's going to be great ultimately for the farmer. Don't forget,
contradicting his own Commerce Secretary, who told NBC's Meet the Press there was no chance of a recession.
And if you have different people in the administration giving different messages, the Commerce Secretary and the President are having different messages on the same day. That's not giving the market any sort of ease or certainty for investors. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have an even greater crash.
We should let Jonathan keep talking, because the market's come back 50 points.
There you go. There you go.
But obviously, the Dow is 1,500 points below where it was when Donald Trump took office.
Yeah.
That's not a good look.
But if today is anything to go by, it's clear that US investors are anything but convinced, nor are they reassured. And why would they be? This is a guy who promised to bring down prices day one, who is now blaming Biden for the fact that people have to take out loans to purchase eggs.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one. We will.
Egg prices are soaring. Last week, the average wholesale price for large white shell eggs reached $8 for a dozen. This is wholesale. Retail, it's higher than this. The previous all-time wholesale price was $5.46 back in December 2022. How much are eggs retail right now?
Right now, probably $11, $12, $13, $14. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control. And we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job.
He's a serial liar and a con man, so of course this was on the cards, but too many people willfully blind to their own worldviews would just rather punch down than look up. Down we go, all of us, once again at the hands of a conservative-ran government. So what now? We wait 4 years for a Democrat to bail us out? again.
The markets are going to have all kinds of different things going on, but yes, we are going to stay the course because this country's future depends on it. Why should Americans not have free and full access to markets around the world when we give all of those other folks access to our markets right here in the United States? I think Donald Trump made it very clear this is what he was going to do. I think the public's with him.
But on the economy, he can't even beat himself. Again, this is historically the worst going back in polling at this point in a presidency, the net approval rating on the economy. He's right now at -4 points. In term number one, he was at +8 points. Historically, the average is +15 points. He is doing nearly 20 points worse than the average president when it comes to the economy on net approval rating. He is historically doing awful.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.